Hey everybody, Nick here, and today I got a review for you of this very interesting knife right here. This is the Three Rivers Manufacturing, a TRM Atom. Now, first off, in the name of full disclosure, I purchased this guy directly from the manufacturer, and in fact, I got a hold of this guy a little bit before everybody else, and I managed to skip the whole lottery process. Given that that does count as special treatment, even though I paid full price, I should probably disclose it up front. We do, as always, I told them I was going to talk about the good, the great, the bad, the ugly. Might be a gem, might be junk. They still sent it along, but we do have to assume this is the very best quality control one of these ever, and also that I'm doing my best not to let that affect the quality and substance of my review. But there you go, full disclosure, now you know. Next thing on this guy, size comparison. Here it is against your Ontario Rat number 2, your Spyderco Delica, and so you can see here that size-wise, this is non-trivial. This is a reasonably sized knife right here, and then here it is against your Spyderco PM2, and in terms of sharpened blade length, we are actually slightly greater on the Neutron, or I'm sorry, on the Atom, that is, relative to the PM2. This is not a small knife, although it feels that way in many ways. And then here it is against perhaps the most relevant size comparison. This is the TRM Neutron. This is the smaller size knife that in many ways the Atom is based on. This is a knife that I've reviewed previously, and in fact it was my knife of the year for 2018. And so seeing this as the follow-up was absolutely exciting for me and something I was curious about. Then one other thing in terms of size comparison, I want to do a vertical size comparison. What we can see here is that in terms of thickness, this is not a thick knife. I can do a quick measurement right quick with my calipers here. We see that this guy comes in at like 0.38 inches here overall, as opposed to the Neutron, which comes in closer to 0.33, and as opposed to your Spyderco Delica, which is coming in again at 0.38. And so this knife, although it is substantially large, is very thin, which is actually a very nice thing for many situations for everyday carry. Then finally, a quick note, what the heck is a TRM? Well, Three Rivers is a company out of Massachusetts, actually Three Rivers, Massachusetts, go figure, right? But they have been making stuff as an original equipment manufacturer for a long time for a bunch of brands. But in the last few years, they have really been trying to bootstrap their own brand, releasing things like the Viator, the Nomad, the Neutron, obviously, the Atom, and a bunch of other things as well, the Thunderbird. They've got a bunch of stuff, and so they're a newer company on the scene, but they've actually been around for a good long time. So anyways, let's go ahead and jump into the good, the great, the bad, and the ugly of this very interesting knife right here. First off, on the good side, this is made in the States. Right here, USA on the blade. Now look, that's something that, you know, I'm cheering for my home team, right? As I'm sure you want manufacturing in your country, I want it in mine, and so that's always a nice thing. Is it crucial? No, but it's definitely a beautiful thing to see. Next thing, this has, pardon me, very easy scale swap. What I mean by that is that the scales on this guy are designed such that they fit around the pivot here, which means that if I wanted to swap this guy to these micarta scales or any of the other scale varieties they offer, they also do G10 and whatnot, I could remove them just by unscrewing this screw and this screw, lift the scale off, drop this guy on, and I would never have to worry about the action. The knife itself is not actually disassembled. Similarly, on the backside, you just remove your two clip screws and then this one screw here, and then this comes popping off. That is a beautiful thing. That makes things very, very easy to swap the scale. I was able to do it in like 30 seconds or something like that at one point in time. And actually you saw me do it during the disassembly, so that's a nice approach. They also offer a bunch of scale options. Like I said, you can get a micarta. This is a dark green micarta that's not going to be super available, but nevertheless, you can also get a black micarta. This is a scale for the Neutron, of course, but you can get a good sense of what's going on with it, as well as a bunch of G10 colors. And they sell those scales separately, which is actually a very nice thing for people who might, you know, want to swap it around a little bit. Maybe you're a fashion blogger and want to match your knife to your outfit. I don't freaking know. But either way, that's nice. Personally, I'm really loving this carbon fiber. I started off with the micarta, which is also quite nice. But then I put the CF on there. It was just like, oh, yeah, this is good. It adds a little bit of stiffness. It looks really great. I like this carbon fiber a ton, but this easy scale swap and the variety of options is nice. Next thing, this is a tiny big knife. What I mean by that is that this is a big knife. If I do the actual measurement here, we are coming in just under 3.5 inches, although it is uncontroversially under, which I do appreciate. But nevertheless, this is just under 3.5 inches, but it is actually not all that big. In terms of your length in the pocket here, we're coming in at like 4.5 inches or so. maybe a little bit more than that, but still, it's not a very large knife. And then in terms of your thinness and your weight, this is super, super nice for carry. And so this has the feeling of being a big knife in the blade, but in the pocket, this doesn't feel large at all. And I like that very much. I think it's a cool little approach. Next thing, they've got some improvements relative to the Neutron, which was the sort of base model, I suppose, that this came from. To start with, you only need two kinds of screws for disassembly here. You need this guy, which I believe is a T8, and then this guy, which is a T6, and then you can go, there were more T6s, as opposed to there were some Phillips heads in there for some damn reason at one point on the Neutron. That's kind of nice, and you actually only need one screw to, one kind of driver to change the scales, just T6. So, I like that very, very much. That's a good thing. Next thing, the clip is definitely an improvement relative to the Neutron. This isn't a bad clip by any means, but this offers a very nice deep carry option with a little bit more height on it. To me, it's just a better clip. The lock bar access on this guy is better. What you can see here is that if I put the two of them next to each other, the Neutron has a very, very minor area for you to get your finger in. It works fine. It's not a concern, but this guy has this nice generous area. It's so easy to unlock this guy. It's a beautiful thing. Next thing, it is slightly more attractive in my estimation. This is entirely a design question, but to me, looking at the two of them next to each other, I kind of like the lines of this one better. And it is thinner behind the edge. This is the most important element of it. I'll see if I can show this off on the camera here. But there is a very slight improvement in thickness behind the edge there. Now, mind you, both of them are relatively thin behind the edge. Both of them cut very, very well, and with relatively thin blade stock, oh yeah, that's a beautiful thing, but it is always nice to see them pushing the grind and improving the grind a little bit more from one to the next. That's a beautiful thing. And so there are some improvements from the Neutron, and that's always great. Next thing, this is using nested titanium liners. Unlike on the Neutron, where the liners are flush with the handle here, these guys are nested. Practically speaking, does it make a big difference? No, not really. But it does actually look pretty attractive, and you get sort of a different feel from it than with the unnested liners. It looks pretty damn good, and the titanium liners, which make them extra lightweight. Pardon me. Next thing, this has a very smooth action. Has a very, very nice to 10. It is in a perfect happy medium between being hard enough to reliably pop the blade out 100% of the time, but also being soft enough that you are not cracking your finger in half trying to do so. That is a great thing. It is running on phosphor bronze washers, which is going to be nice for maintenance as well as just long-term use. And it is a super flicky knife. This is very, very easy to flick open, to pop open. I have not once missed a deploy on this guy. That is just great. So in terms of deployment, this is a joy. So the action on it is great. And then finally, on the good side, the blade on this is amazing. This is, to start with, it is 20 CV, which is one of the very best steels for a pocket knife that's available these days. It is run at 60 to 61 HRC on their, according to their website there. It has very thin stock. I'll measure it up here if I can find my freaking calipers again. We are coming in here at 0.09, I'm sorry, inches, which is, yeah, hey, knife makers, remember, that's a size they make. You should use it. And it's got a very thin edge. I mean, of course, there's an interaction between stock thickness and edge thickness. You want both of those things to be thin for, excellent cutting, especially in thicker materials where stock thickness matters more. But look, this is how knives should be made. Seriously, knives cut things. That is their function. And thank you, TRM, for remembering and designing your blade to effectively cut things. And you can see at the tip here, it is just super thin. Oh, man, I love this freaking blade. Every time I cut with this guy, it was just like, yes, oh, yes, 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 I love it. So, to me, all of that is the good. It has an amazing blade that is beautifully ground to cut from great steel. It has a very smooth action, nested titanium liners, a few improvements relative to the Neutron. It is a tiny big knife. It has an easy scale swap option, and it is made in the States. On the great side, though, to me, is the carryability of this knife. This is a beautifully carryable knife. Recall, this is a 3.5-inch blade, and we are weighing in here at 2.96 ounces. That's very, very impressive. It is less than an ounce an inch. And it also carries well in that you can see here the clip is mounted such that the bulk of the knife hangs off the side. There is a completely smooth surface here with the blade nowhere near exposed on the back. It's relatively thin. with this deep carry clip. This knife is so damn nice to carry. I am very, very happy with this guy in my pocket. And with that lightweightness and everything else, this is one of the more pleasurable 3.5-inch knives to carry in my estimation. Because, I mean, again, recall that there were knives out there like the PM2, which is an amazing knife. I don't want to diss on it. But seriously, this guy is way, way thinner. It is way, way lighter. It is just a nicer knife for carry for most people. So I love carrying this knife, and what they've done here to keep it thin, to keep it light, has absolutely resulted in some amazing carryability. On the bad side, to start with, price did go up a little bit from the Neutron. The carbon fiber Neutron here is $190. This guy runs $210. Mind you, it's thin ground 20 CV with great liner work and, you know, carbon fiber. You can get it a little cheaper if you don't do the carbon fiber. So I don't think it's a bad price, but it did creep up a little bit, and I do hate to see prices creeping up, particularly when value was one of the biggest things that the Neutron offered. And so I hope that doesn't become a pattern from TRM of creeping these up with new releases. It's a bigger knife, I guess that probably matters, but still. Yeah. Next thing, the screws on this guy go directly into the liners. You can see that in my disassembly video, but they're not screwing into the standoffs from both sides. It's screwing into the liner from the other one. Now, this also results in unshouldered and unthreaded standoffs, which can be a little bit of a pain as you're arranging things. But this might be an issue if you cross-thread the line or strip the thread on one side there, where you can't just replace a standoff. You have to replace a whole scale. Now, look, I kind of suspect that they're limited by thinness here because screwing both sides into the barrel spacer, there just might not be enough depth in there for good engagement. So this is a nitpick, 100%, as was the price thing, but I'm needing to nitpick here, and that's one of the things to bring up. Next thing, I can't manage a lefty deploy. It does have a lefty thumb stud on this guy, but I just haven't been able to pull it off. I mean, no, I just can't, because the liner is very, very close to this guy. And so, as a result, I don't know that my southpaw friends are going to be able to do this. And in fact, I've handed this to a couple of people and said, hey, can you open this with your left hand? And even experienced knife people, and they've all said, no, I got nothing here. So if you are in that 10% of the population who gives a crap about that, that's going to be a little bit problematic. This could actually be, though, due to the symmetry provided by this increased lock bar access. And so, as a completely biased right-handed person, that is, I think they did the right thing by keeping that liner out there a little bit further, but not necessarily a big fan of that. But again, I'm nitpicking here. Next thing, this did have a little bit of lock stick when I took it out of the box, and you can hear maybe the slightest bit of it still. That's worn in. Look, I'm nitpicking hard over here because it's substantially a good knife. And then finally, the very worst thing about this guy, and the thing that is actually problematic, is availability. This is a knife that's made by a small company. And so I understand at some level that it's very hard for them to keep up, but the simple fact is there have not been enough of these guys, the Neutrons, or the Atoms out there for people to get their fill. Both of those knives have been very tough to put hands on. Mind you, having prominent jackasses on YouTube saying nice things about them is not helping a damn thing, but it is still definitely a situation. And so I really do hope they're able to ratchet up their production a little bit, get these out more reliably and more accessibly to their fans, but doing so while maintaining excellent quality control. Because if they let quality slip while they're, making more of them, they have exactly defeated the purpose, and it, will kill the knife and not look great on the company either. So I very, very much hope, though, that they are able to ratchet up the availability in the future, because that is the biggest issue with this knife. It's just like, I want to tell everyone, go freaking buy one, but you can't go freaking buy one necessarily. So that to me is the bad, is that the availability isn't great, and then, nitpicking, it's got a little bit of lock stick when it started, which is seeming to go away. I can't manage a lefty deploy. The screws are directly into the liners, but for the thinness, I kind of think it has to be. And the price did go up a little bit from the Neutron, but it's still a pretty good price for what you're getting here. Nothing ugly here, so let's go into your final conclusion. So look, the Neutron was my knife of the year for 2018. It was an unquestionable gem, and it is a knife that I've recommended to a ton of people. Pardon me, both on the channel as well as just in my everyday life. There are many people where I've said, get a Neutron. You're going to freaking love it. And in fact, many of them who've gotten the Neutron have freaking loved it. Mind you, a lot of people haven't been able to get a Neutron, but still, this is a knife that I've recommended every damn day of the week. And then seeing that they were going to make a follow-up version that addresses one common issue that people had with it, namely that it is a small knife. And although for me that's great, for some people it's not. I was very excited about this. And in fact, I can confirm that the spirit of the Neutron moves on in the Atom. This remains, the Atom continues many of the things that made the Neutron so excellent. It remains very thin. It remains very ergonomic, super carryable. It is a knife with a blade that is designed to actually cut things. Whoa, amazing! And they've even made improvements to the clip, to the edge, to lock access, to the aesthetic, at a size that I think will probably appeal to a broader swath of people. This is not a huge knife, and although that's a perk for me, it may not be for some folks. And so I think this is very compelling. Mind you, it is a little pricier. It's not super lefty-friendly, and most problematic availability is poor, and this review isn't going to help that one freaking iota. I certainly admit that. But still, it's not perfection, but it's good. It's real good. And honestly, it's clear to me that they've not just made the Neutron smaller. That could have been one approach. Or I'm sorry, made the Neutron bigger, that is. That would have been one approach. It's just like, okay, open up the SolidWorks file and just go... And there you go, ship the knife, we're good to go. I know it doesn't work that way, but still. That would have been an option, but instead they've gone through and they've actually tried to improve on it. They've tried to make the Neutron better and take what they've learned, or at the very least what they've decided after the Neutron, and move it up a little bit there too. And so it's clear that not only have they reproduced something that is as good as the original gem, but they've improved on it. And given that the price hike isn't anywhere near high enough to offset that, and I'm not saying you should raise the prices, but still, given that they improved on a gem, this too is a gem. In fact, it is a shining gem. And this is a knife I will recommend to anybody who can actually get one. Frankly, I'll recommend it to people who can't actually get one, and then they'll get angry at me, but I'm going to still do it, because once you can get one, you're probably going to like it. It is absolutely a great thing. And although actually I like the size of the Neutron more, I think that the improvements to the Atom do make it a slightly better pocket knife. And actually, surprisingly to me, I think I'm going to end up keeping both of them. And I may end up carrying the Atom a lot more than I expect to. I still love the Neutron. I think it's a great piece, but the Atom is good in its own way, and it's a knife that I really substantially like on its own merit, not just as a bigger Neutron. I figured it'd be like, okay, well, I like smaller knives, so no reason, but they've done some very nice things here. So I think they're great, and I can't actually figure out which one of these I like more. So, in summary, the Atom takes the Neutron as the nucleus of its design, and then with a bit of charm, creates something which has a strong interaction with the original, but has shown no reluctance to move on from that design. And they have made a variety of positron changes that really improve quality of life here. When you add to that the variety of scales, none of which look tacky on the knife, and add to it the fact that it has made a quantum leap in cutting power, avoiding the near constant of modern knives by offering a blade which isn't ground like a plank, it is absolutely 100% a beautiful thing. Mind you, it's not without its quirks. You have to particularly accelerate production of these guys if you're going to have them sold out in the world. Come on, TRM. Or you're going to need to keep an eye on their social media to catch the drops. And the price, of course, just isn't at parity with the Neutron, which might cause some repulsion for some buyers. Now, mind you, some will accuse me of just being a boson with a hadron for anything with a thin blade. I get that. They might dismiss this review as spin and Schroding this knife all over social media. It's already happened. But I think that once you have one in hand, and you can go beyond the photons you see on Instagram, you will have leapt onto the bandwagon, and you will share my reaction that this knife is absolutely 100% molecule. Okay, there you go. Hope this is interesting to you, and have yourselves just an absolutely wonderful rest of your day, and I hope this review has left you with no uncertainty. Heisenberg joke. All right, bye now.